This Poison Spyder RockerBrawler rear bumper and tire carrier is for those of you that have a 1997 to 2006 TJ that are looking for a very high quality rear bumper and tire carrier combination. This is going to be one of the more expensive options on the market, but it is engineered in a way that no other bumper really is, and it is going to be something that is worth the cost if you're looking for that top tier rear bumper. This is going to be an easy 1 out of 3 wrench installation for anybody to do in their driveway. Simply bolt the bumper on the back of your Jeep, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So when you hear the name Poison Spyder, you've become accustomed to a certain level of quality, and that's exactly what you're going to see here. This thing has been engineered in a way, like I said, that not a lot of other rear bumper and tire carrier combinations have, and that's going to make for a very nice fit and finish. It's going to make for something that isn't going to rattle, it's not going to sag, it's not going to wear out, it's not going to do any of those things that those less expensive options on the market have been known to do over time. So if you have the budget for it and you want one of the best built rear bumper and tire combinations out there, I think that this is going to be a great option for you. This bumper is made out of 3/16 inch steel, and it does have some 3/4 inch shackle mounts built into it. It has a lot of features that on paper look like what you would find from a lot of other bumper and tire carrier options out there. However, this is going to be very, very different in a lot of ways. So from the feature standpoint, again, pretty similar to what you'd be used to seeing here. You have your shackle mounts, again, 3/4 inch, nice and heavy. You have a 2-inch receiver here. This does have a couple of spots for some chains. This doesn't explicitly say that it is tow rated, but you can definitely use that for recovery. And then of course you're going to have your tire carrier here. So you're gonna be wanting to shop for a spare tire carrier that is bumper mounted if you're running a larger than factory spare tire on your Jeep. If you have a big heavy spare on that factory tire carrier, you can really run into one of 3 different issues. Your hinges can start to fail, which will allow the whole tailgate to sag. The tailgate itself can separate and break apart, and the tire carrier itself is only rated for a factory size and weight spare, so that metal can start to fatigue and break down as well. So you really have 2 options if you're looking for a way to remedy that situation. One is going to be a bumper mounted tire carrier like this one, and the other is going to be a tub mounted tire carrier. If you're looking for a bumper mounted tire carrier, again, this is going to be one of the highest quality ones that you can get. This is going to be 3/16 inch steel. The shackle mounts are 3/4 inch, giving you a ton of strength there. This has a couple of features that I really like. One is the 2-inch receiver that's built directly into it. Even though this is a nice, slim, low profile bumper, still has room for that 2-inch receiver. This does have a spot for a pin and for chains. It doesn't exclusively or explicitly say that this is going to be a tow rated bumper, but you can certainly use that for recoveries. Of course, you have your spot for your shackles for additional recovery points, and the main part of this bumper that's really, really well engineered is going to be the tire carrier. So the pivot point here, nice and strong, welded all the way through. It comes with bearings. Not just any bearings, these are Timken bearings, so again, high quality. Some of the other tire carriers out there will just be a sleeve that slides over top of a spindle. This, of course, having bearings on the top and the bottom is going to ensure that this remains very easy to open and close over a very long period of time. The latch on the other side there is essentially like a car door latch. Again, there are a lot of less expensive options, less expensive ways of building a latch, but Poison Spyder doesn't do that. This is the only latch that I've ever seen that's designed in the way that this one is, and it ensures that it's going to close, it's going to stay closed when you want it to stay closed, it's going to open and open easily when you need it to, even over a long period of time. And maybe most importantly, for those of you that are daily driving your Jeep, this is not going to rattle. So you get a lot out of that latch. As far as the mount itself goes, obviously there are a bunch of different holes. This is adjustable for height. You want to be able to get that tire as low as possible so you can have maximum visibility out the back window of your Jeep. And when you have the actual mount attached onto the tire carrier, it's also adjustable in and out. The idea there is that you can get the tire nice and tight up against the tire carrier, so nothing's going to be torquing and trying to rattle around or move around. That can eventually cause some metal fatigue. You're not going to run into that with this tire carrier. As another example of just how well engineered and put together this is just a cap that goes over top of the spindle here once everything is completely installed. This is an aluminum piece. It has the Poison Spyder logo. They even give you a laser cut tool specifically for this cap here. So it just really shows the level of engineering and the thought process that goes into building this, and just some of the reasons why this is significantly more expensive than a lot of the other bumpers out there. I think if you have the budget, it is worth it because of all the thought that goes into it. this. This bumper and tire carrier combination comes in at right around $1,300. Again, if you have the budget, if you want something that's top quality, this is going to be it. Everything from the welds to the engineering of the spindle and the latch mechanism, everything is top tier, and I do think it's going to be worth the cost. Now, as you can see, this is the bare steel option at $1,300, so if you're going to have this powder coated, you have to figure that cost into it as well. But again, if you want that top quality, this is going to be it. Now, a member of the install team will show you how to get this bolted up to your TJ.
So in order to take off our stock rear bumper, we have to take off our end caps first. We have 3 10mm bolts that we're gonna take off with a 10mm socket and an impact wrench. We have 2 on the top and 1 on the bottom. And you can go ahead and remove the end cap. So now we can go ahead and take off the actual bumper. We have 2 nuts on the back of the bumper. I have an 18mm nut on the bottom and a 19mm on the top. It is going to vary between your model. Once that's off, we can move to the other side. After the 4 nuts are removed, we can fully remove the rear bumper. So after we remove our stock rear bumper, we can go ahead and remove our spare tire and stock tire carrier to make room for our new rear bumper and tire carrier. I have a 13/16 socket. Now we can remove the 6 bolts that are holding on the spare tire carrier with a 13mm socket. To get our new bumper bolted up, we need to address the bolts and where they are going to mount in. So different models will vary between where you are going to mount it up and what kind of holes that you have already on your subframe. We already have 4 holes available for mounting this up. We measured it out and we are going to tap out the bolts that are held in by the retaining clips with a little mallet and bolt our bumper up. The bolts that we're gonna keep are these 2 and these 2. And these are held in by these little retaining clips and they have a nut plate on the back. So we're just going to, maybe not. So before we mount our new bumper up, we have to take off the license plate bracket so we can relocate it at the end. I have a 10mm socket. We are going to remove the license plate to get into 10mm bolt holding the bracket in. So now we can mount up our rear bumper. While holding the bumper up, you can now loosely install the nuts. We're going to loosely install the nuts on the outer ends, and then that will hold the bumper up well enough to access the inner 2 bolts. One side attached, you can move on to the other side. Now we can loosely install the nut and washer on this side. Now that the bumper is mounted up by the outside 4 bolts, we can mount up the nut on the inner 2 bolts. First, I recommend putting on the washer just because you don't have a lot of room. You might even want to use a magnet for this. You can make sure those are hand tight until you come around and tighten everything up. So now we can go around and tighten up all of our bolts with a 15mm socket or a 15mm wrench, whichever you can fit on the bolt. For this top one, you usually can use a wrench because you're not going to be able to fit a socket with the body mount right there. Now we can tighten up our inner bolts. After the bumper is on, we can attach our crescent plate around the spindle, and we can insert our rivets. So you're going to need a rivet gun, so now with some latex gloves and some grease, we are going to pack our roller bearings, get them ready to be installed on our tire carrier. You want to make sure that you're getting it inside the seams and you're packing all of that grease down into the seal. All right, and you can move over to your second one. All right, and after your Timekin bearings are greased up, we can Put a light coating of grease on the spindle. So with the tire carrier upside down, you're going to insert your greased bearing into the pre-installed race that's in the sleeve. Make sure that it sits flat and you have movement while it's in there. Now we're going to install our bearing seal, and you can either use a bearing seal driver or the appropriate size socket to tap it into place. We're using an exhaust spacer. And just make sure everything is level while you're putting it into place. So with the help of a friend, they are going to attach the tire carrier onto the spindle. Then you can drop in your second timekin bearing into the race. Now we can put our large flat washer on and take our lock nut. We can take our lock nut and screw that on. So now that your lock nut is touching the washer, your friend can turn the tire carrier in and out to make sure that there's no binding. Once the lock nut is tightened down, we can go ahead and install our pivot cap with the provided tool. There is an O-ring on here pre-installed. If it does not come installed already, you will have to put that on before tightening down the pivot cap. Now with an open-ended wrench, you can tighten up your hex head here so we can get the knob on for our lock pin assembly. Now I have an adjustable wrench set at 23 millimeter. We'll tighten that up and thread on our knob. So now we can attach our ball joint elbow to our latch assembly, so we're able to thread the rod into the ball joint elbow and pull it up to release the tire carrier. So you're going to insert that there and take your washer and lock nut and insert that on the back. Two 11 millimeter wrenches. One's going to be a flexible headed ratcheting wrench and then another standard open end wrench. Once you have the knob threaded on the threaded latch knob, you can go ahead and insert that into your elbow ball joint and tighten that down. And this will serve as your lock mechanism. Now we can attach the Spiderweb with a provided bolt and a 10 millimeter nut. It is going to have an Allen key attachment. You can put your washer on the back and your lock nut. thread that on. Take an open-ended 10mm wrench and you can tighten that down. You're going to have to measure depending on your tire and where you want it to sit on your spare tire carrier. We're gonna go ahead and bolt it up with the 4 16mm bolts. So I would recommend hand tighten them first, and then you can tighten them down with a 16mm open-ended wrench and a 16mm socket and a ratchet or an impact. Once that's held on, you can put in the bottom two. Now you take your 16mm open-ended wrench and your socket and tighten those down. So before we attach the mount to the tire carrier, we need to press in our studs to hold our tire. There is going to be a diagram on the back page of the instructions for your 5x4.5 bolt pattern, and you also have it here. So we're going to head over to the vise and press these in. After our studs are pressed in, we can put it on the spare tire carrier. Now we can secure our spare tire carrier down with our 14mm nut and bolts. So, going to attach your bolt and washer, and you can loosen and adjust this as needed to your tire size. I always recommend hand tightening everything so it's secured in one spot, and then you can go ahead and tighten everything down at the end. After that's installed, we can go ahead and reinstall our spare tire. After those are on, you can torque them down. Or you could tighten it down with a 19mm socket and a impact wrench. Now we can attach our license plate relocation bracket on our spare tire carrier the same way that we attached the spare tire mount. You're going to insert your two bolts. They're going to be an 11mm, and then you can go ahead and take your washer and lock nut and secure it down. And this is going to have adjusters on it as well, so you can adjust it back and forth. after you have it centered, you can tighten it down with two 11mm wrenches. You're not going to be able to fit a socket in there just because of the placement with the wheel, but 2 wrenches should be fine. And now we can mount up our license plate on our license plate relocation bracket with the 4 provided Allen bolts. While that's mounted up, you can take your nut, thread that on, hold it in place. Then you can take your 11mm open-ended wrench and tighten that down with the Allen key provided. And do the same thing with the bottom. So that's it for my review and install on the Poison Spyder RockerBrawler rear bumper and tire carrier. For more installs like this, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.